Hello and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. I am back again with another book review. I did a video a few months back where I talked about books that were on my TBR, and one of the books that I mentioned had the distinction of being the book that was on my TBR for the longest. And we're talking like a few years long. It was a book that I purchased. I think I got it from the Dollar Tree, but now that I'm looking at the book, I think it actually came from Thrift Books maybe. But anyway, that book is Dark Matter. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Y'all, I finally read it. And before I get into the review, I'm going to ask you to go now and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Don't know what you've been waiting on, but I'm going to give you a moment to go ahead and press that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you won't miss out on any videos. Okay? Do it now. Okay, listen. I don't know what my apprehension was, why I procrastinated, but I cannot believe it took me as long to get to this book as it did. I feel like almost embarrassed. And I'm so mad at myself that I waited so long to read this book. Oh my God, it was so good. I don't know why, I didn't start it back when I first got it. I mean, I know I probably had other books and stuff, but still at some point, it seems like I should have had this in my rotation. And I don't know, it's because I read, The Time Traveler this year and this time tomorrow, or what, that I maybe was in a better headspace to absorb the what the book was about. And let me just tell you. So, the book starts off, there's this guy, Jason Dessen, I guess I'm saying his name right, D-E-S-S-E-N. He's the main character in the book. And he's a physics professor, right? And when it starts off, him and his wife and son, they're having dinner, and it's apparent that both of them have kind of settled into a life where, it's kind of they're not really living up to their full potential. He's a brilliant, physicist or scientist. She was, an amazing artist, but she got pregnant early on in their relationship. They were young, and they took the path of having their son, getting married, and settling into a quote unquote normal life, right? That didn't include going out and conquering the world and living out their dreams. It was just about providing a home and a space for their son and just becoming a family. Well, that night, they both are kind of tipsy a little bit. They've been drinking wine with dinner, and apparently one of her former colleagues and one of his current colleagues, they're talking about the success that these people are having. And they're both, she was a better painter than that woman, and he was a better scientist than that guy. That could have been them. That could have been their lives, right? So Jason's friend, he's getting this award that Jason probably could have got had he followed that path. And he's celebrating at a bar near their house. So his wife, encourages him, hey, you should go and, he was a really good friend of yours. Go and congratulate him, have a drink with him or whatever. And then come back and dinner will be ready and we can sit down and eat or whatever. So he goes and, the guy, everybody's just singing his praises, and it just becomes too much. It's this is the life I could have had, or nobody knows that this guy, I tutored him in that subject and that's why he's where he is and all that stuff. So he's on his way home and he gets hit over the head and he gets abducted. Yeah, a grown-ass man who I think he's in his 40s. Yeah, he gets abducted. So you're just what is going on here? Well, therein lies the premise of the story. There's time traveling involved because I'm not going to give y'all any spoilers. It's so hard to talk about this book. But so the person that kidnaps him takes him back to this machine, this capsule, if you will, and pushes him in, and he ends up in another like reality, an alternate timeline of his life where he did take that other path and he became like a famous scientist and created all this stuff. And he's the one that won the award and everything like that. But this is the thing where it starts to get kind of interesting. He is aware of what is going on. It's not like he's totally settled into this Jason in this timeline. It's like, no, that's not me. You know, I'm married and I have a kid and I'm just a physics professor. And the people when he goes back, they're thinking he's just having, oh, you know, from this time traveling, you're a little confused, you're a little discombobulated or what have you. And, you know, he's like, no, that can't be like just something that I fabricated or dreamed. Like I was really that person, you know. Arthur even goes as far as to describe that he has an indentation on his ring finger from where his wedding ring once sat. So when you're reading it, you're thinking, well, maybe he got to live that time out, you know, and now he's back or whatever. Because I think he had been missing for like a year or so, if I'm not mistaken, from the time that he left, because he left there and, you know, was going to time travel. And so him making it back, that was a sign that it was successful, because they had sent other people and they never made it back. So the majority of the book is spent with Jason, you know, in that timeline as the scientist, you know, just not really settling in, not feeling he belongs, or not thinking that this is really his timeline or where he needs to be. But, you know, everybody is like so sure that this is who he is. He goes to the house where his wife and son live. He still lives there, but there's no trace of them. It turns out in this timeline, he never got married. And he does end up finding his wife, or the, you know, woman that he married in the other timeline. And she's a famous artist. So they both have lived up to their potential, not having got married. And their son doesn't exist because she, you know, apparently, I guess she did get pregnant, but she must have got an abortion or something. So there are like some things that actually happened, but then it like they diverge, you know, after a certain point, right? So turns out that he is in the wrong timeline, and that there should have been somebody else there, another version of him. The version of him that is in that timeline is somewhere else, right? And so it makes a lot more sense, y'all, when you read it, I swear. You know what it's like? Okay, I'm gonna give you the perfect example of what this book reminded me of. If you have seen the Disney Plus series Loki, there are so many different time streams and timelines where there are variants of Loki, you know, like there's the original Loki, and then on all these different timelines, he has evolved into someone else or a different version of himself or something else. So that's what they were calling him in that show. And that's what ends up happening in this book. There are a bunch of Jasons. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's fast-paced, it's supernatural, it's a story about choices. The writing is just superb. It's so hard to like talk about this without giving away the main like twist, because there is a twist that happens when you realize what's going on. Another movie that it reminded me of was Tenet. T-E-N-E-T, Tenet, I think that's how you pronounce it. Directed by Christopher Nolan with Robert Pattinson and John David Washington. That movie was good. It's one of those movies, you know, along the Inception line and Interstellar, all of those type of movies where you really have to be paying attention, and when you realize what's going on, your jaw, you know, just hits the floor. That's how this book is. It is totally on par with those type of movies. So if you're familiar with any of those, that's what you're going to get when you read this. And I heard that this book was actually being made into a series on Apple TV. They've casted Joel Edgerton in the role, and it looks like he probably will be the perfect person. It's going to be, I think, 9 episodes. Not sure if they've started production or when they start production, but I'm definitely going to be looking out for that one because I want to see what they do with this one. I really want to see what they do with this one because it has so much potential. I mean, really good book. And as with most time travel or alternate timeline or quantum dimensions and things like that, you know, when you see it on TV or you read it in books, it's, you know, and even the Midnight Library, I feel like had some of that. And obviously This Time Tomorrow, which I reviewed and read a couple of videos back, it's always giving you a glimpse of what might have been, what could have been. And in almost every situation and scenario, people go back to the life they had was better all along. You know, it's like you're thinking that the grass is greener, and then you go and stand in that yard and you have a different vantage point, and you're like, you know, my grass was pretty damn green. So it's one of those things, like, you know, be careful what you wish for, because when you get it, it may not be all you thought it was. And y'all know I'm not even like a series person. I like to be one and done when I read books. But if this were a series, I would read the next book because I need to know, like, the way that it ended, it was one of those endings you're kind of just like, okay. I mean, it was a satisfying ending, but like I wanted to know more about what happened or where people ended up. But yeah, I'm just so mad at myself for waiting so long to get to this one. It's one of those books that stays with you long after you've read it. And, you know, like I said, it leaves you wanting more. So if you're into sci-fi, if you're into like time travel or quantum physics type stuff, if you're into books that give you like different realities of like how the characters could have lived out their lives. There's so many books out there. Like I named some earlier that I've actually read. But if you like books like that, you're going to love Dark Matter. And I know I am so late to the party, so a lot of you may have already read it. If you have, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like this video. And if you didn't subscribe at the top of the video, I'm going to give you another chance. Go ahead, do it now. Subscribe. All right. Y'all have a great weekend. Bye.